Picture a normal morning in August of the year 79 AD, and you're walking through the streets of Pompeii, a busy Roman city near the coast of Italy, where about 15,000 people are going about their daily lives. The bakers are pulling fresh bread from their ovens, and the merchants are setting up their stalls in the forum, while children run through the streets and wealthy Romans relax in their beautiful homes, decorated with colorful paintings and mosaics. Nobody knows that in just a few hours, their entire world will disappear under tons of volcanic ash and rock. Mount Vesuvius had been quiet for hundreds of years, and most people living in Pompeii didn't even realize it was a volcano. The mountain was just part of the landscape, covered in green vineyards and forests, where people grew grapes and farmed the rich volcanic soil. Sure, there had been a massive earthquake about 17 years earlier in 62 AD, that damaged many buildings in the city, but people had rebuilt and life went on as usual. Some smaller tremors kept happening in the days before the eruption, but earthquakes were common in this region, so nobody thought much of it. Then around midday on August 24th, everything changed in an instant when Vesuvius exploded with a force that's hard for us to imagine. The top of the mountain blew apart, and a column of ash, pumice, and gases shot up into the sky, reaching heights of about 20 miles. This towering cloud looked like a giant umbrella pine tree, which is exactly how Pliny the Younger described it when he witnessed the eruption from across the Bay of Naples. The sound must have been absolutely terrifying, like thunder that never stopped, and the ground shook violently as rocks and ash began to rain down on Pompeii. We need to understand what happened next because the eruption didn't kill everyone at once like some people think. The first phase lasted for about 18 hours, and during this time, pumice stones ranging from small pebbles to fist-sized rocks fell continuously on the city. The pumice was light and porous, created when volcanic rock filled with gas bubbles cooled rapidly, and it piled up at a rate of about 6 inches per hour. People had time to make choices during these hours, and many of them fled the city, grabbing whatever valuables they could carry and running toward the coast or down the roads leading away from the mountain. But thousands of people stayed behind for different reasons. Some were too old or sick to travel, and others refused to leave their homes and possessions, thinking they could wait out the disaster. Wealthy Romans had invested fortunes in their houses and businesses, so leaving everything behind was an impossible decision for many. Some people took shelter in buildings, hoping the roofs would protect them from the falling pumice, not realizing this would become a deadly mistake. The ash and pumice kept accumulating on the roofs, and many buildings started to collapse under the weight, trapping people inside. The real killer came during the second phase of the eruption, which began in the early morning hours of August 25th. The enormous column of ash and gas that had been shooting into the sky suddenly became too heavy to support itself, and it collapsed, sending what scientists call pyroclastic surges racing down the mountain toward Pompeii and the nearby town of Herculaneum. These surges were avalanches of superheated gas, ash, and rock fragments that moved at speeds of up to 100 miles per hour, with temperatures reaching around 500 degrees Fahrenheit. When the first surge hit Pompeii, it was instantly lethal to anyone still alive in the city. People died within seconds from the extreme heat, and their bodies were quickly buried by the ash and debris that followed. The surges came in waves over several hours, each one adding more layers of volcanic material, until Pompeii was buried under about 20 feet of ash and pumice. The city that had been bustling with life just a day before was now completely gone, erased from the landscape and forgotten by the world for nearly 1,700 years. What makes Pompeii unique in history is how perfectly it was preserved under all that volcanic material. The ash acted like a time capsule, protecting the city from decay and the elements. When bodies decomposed, they left empty spaces in the hardened ash, and in the 1860s, an archaeologist named Giuseppe Fiorelli had the brilliant idea to pour plaster into these voids. The plaster casts that resulted show us the exact positions people were in when they died, capturing their final moments in heartbreaking detail. We can see a mother trying to shield her child, a man covering his face with his hands, a dog chained up and struggling against its collar, and groups of people huddled together in their last moments. These casts tell us that death came quickly, but the terror must have been overwhelming. Some people were found with coins and jewelry, showing they tried to save their valuables even as disaster struck. Others were discovered in positions suggesting they were sleeping when the pyroclastic surges hit, meaning they might not have even known what was happening. The excavations that began in the 1700s and continue today have revealed an incredibly detailed picture of Roman life that we couldn't get anywhere else. Walking through Pompeii now feels like stepping back in time because the city was frozen at a single moment. We can see the ruts worn into the stone streets by countless wagon wheels, the counters of fast food restaurants called thermopolia, where Romans bought hot meals, the colorful frescoes that decorated wealthy homes, and even graffiti scrawled on walls by ancient Romans sharing jokes, declaring their love, or advertising businesses. The artifacts found in Pompeii tell us so much about daily Roman life. We've found loaves of bread still sitting in ovens, eggs preserved in their shells, fruit and nuts carbonized by the heat, and wine sealed in amphorae. Medical instruments tell us about ancient surgical practices, while toys and games show us how children played 2,000 years ago. Political slogans painted on walls reveal the democratic process of electing local officials, and the layout of homes shows us the social divisions between rich and poor. One fascinating discovery was that many people in Pompeii had remarkably good teeth, probably because their diet included less sugar than we eat today. Studies of the skeletons have also revealed information about diseases, injuries, and the physical toll of manual labor. The wealthy ate fish and meat regularly, while poorer citizens mostly survived on grain, vegetables, and cheap wine. Some homes had elaborate gardens with fountains and sculptures, while others were cramped apartments where entire families shared single rooms. The city had all the features of Roman civilization, including public baths, where people socialized and got clean, an amphitheater that could hold 20,000 spectators for gladiator fights and other entertainment, temples dedicated to various gods, and a forum that served as the center of political and commercial life. The walls of Pompeii were covered with advertisements for upcoming shows, political campaigns, and even lost and found notices, giving us a vivid sense of the busy urban culture. Scientists continue to study Vesuvius because the volcano is still active and could erupt again at any time. Today, more than 3 million people live in the areas around the volcano, making it one of the most dangerous volcanic zones in the world. We've learned so much about how volcanoes work by studying what happened at Pompeii, and modern monitoring equipment now watches Vesuvius constantly for any signs of activity. The lessons from Pompeii have helped us understand pyroclastic flows and develop evacuation plans for volcanic disasters around the world. Recent discoveries using modern technology like CT scans and DNA analysis have revealed even more about the victims of Pompeii. We now know more about their health, their diets, their family relationships, and even how they died. Some people had been eating shortly before the eruption, while others had empty stomachs, suggesting they were too worried to eat as pumice rained down. The diversity of the population surprises many visitors because Pompeii was truly cosmopolitan, with people from across the Roman Empire living and working there. The story of Pompeii reminds us how powerful and unpredictable nature can be, and how quickly everything we take for granted can be destroyed. These were real people going about their ordinary lives when disaster struck without warning, and their city became a grave and a monument at the same time. Every object found in the ruins, from fancy jewelry to simple cooking pots, represents someone's life and choices and hopes that were cut short in a single catastrophic day. Visiting Pompeii today is a powerful experience that connects us directly to the ancient world in a way that few other places can. Standing in the streets where Romans walked, looking at the art they created, and seeing the casts of people who died there makes history feel immediate and real. The site continues to teach us new things as archaeologists uncover more buildings and artifacts with large sections of the city still buried and waiting to be explored. The tragedy was complete and devastating, but because of how the city was preserved, Pompeii gives us an unmatched window into ancient Roman life. We can see how people lived, what they valued, how they worked and played, and even how they faced death when Mount Vesuvius erupted. The ruins stand as both a memorial to those who died and a gift to all of us who want to understand the past, reminding us that the people of ancient Rome were not so different from us, with the same hopes and fears and daily concerns that fill our own lives today.